Liz Swaine is Executive Director of Shreveport's Downtown Development Authority. Hey, Miss Liz, welcome to KEEL. How are you this morning?
Hey, Robert, I'm doing great. I understand that you and Erin want to buy a fine property in downtown Shreveport.
You know what?
He's looking for one.
I know he is. I see him on the balcony all the time at Abby Singer's Bistro. Sorry, Robert, you can't buy that one. That one's not for sale.
You know, it seems to me as this talk about Cross Bayou and the billion-dollar 10-year project starts to heat up, it occurs to me that instead of building something new, that what we do in Shreveport is we keep building new things and leaving empty things in our own wake. Why don't we take some of that $1 billion, maybe all of that $1 billion? And what I said yesterday was everything that Gateway Development Consortium wants, office space, retail space, housing space, is less than 800 yards away, and it's called downtown Shreveport. Why don't we renovate? How's that sound to you?
Well, I'm going to answer that in two ways. For one thing, why don't we renovate sounds great. And that's, that's our job, and that's what we're trying to do every single day, and we're seeing a lot of that happening downtown already. But we do have some additional buildings that people could do wonderful projects in. They could do mixed-use apartments and retail and commercial and office and all those things that you talk about. The second way I'm going to answer it is private money can develop wherever private money wants to develop. So we can't hold a gun to somebody's head and say, you will do this building or you will do this area. Private developers have every right in the world to go wherever they would like, to purchase property, to buy buildings, to renovate, because ultimately they're trying to find the place that's going to give them the best return on their investment dollar. And I don't think we want to be like Russia used to be.
But at some point, and I agree with you 100%, but at some point, and I guess this is sort of the thrust of your job, is to sort of make it more advantageous for those developers.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
how do we do that?
Well, there are several different ways. One thing is to make our existing commercial buildings, and many of our existing commercial buildings in downtown are wonderful historic buildings. And so one of the benefits of taking a building that already exists is there's something called historic tax credits, both at the state level and the federal level. So it helps you with the cost of the rehabilitation, which is always risky in a historic building because you peel a wall back, you don't know what's going to be there. There may be things you had not considered. It may cost a little bit more than you had bargained for. So there's always a little bit more risk. So those historic tax credits help sort of moderate some of that risk. That's one way that we try to encourage people to look downtown at an existing building. And it does all of us good. I mean, our entire community, if we take buildings that already exist and rehabilitate them, it's like the greatest recycling ever.
See,
right?
my concern,
Instead of recycling an aluminum can, we're recycling an entire building.
Yeah. My concern about Cross Bayou in microcosm is they want to build a brand new, great big, shiny building for state workers. Well, what that does, though, is leave a great big empty building in deteriorating condition at the corner of Jordan and Fairfield. And what do we do with that? And it seems like we do this over and over and over again. I don't think I'm off the mark, am I?
You are not off the mark, but I'm going to tell you that big old building on Fairfield is a historic building. That building, I think, is 60 or 70 years old. That building could utilize historic tax credits. If a private developer could purchase that building could make some really cool apartments, or it could make senior living, or any number of things that could be cooler, let me just say, than it is right now. And it has been known for some time that state workers have been relatively unhappy in that building. It's old, it's outdated, it has some old building issues that need to be addressed. And the state at some point is either going to have to pony up some substantial money to rehabilitate that existing building, or they're going to need to build a new building. I guess they're not at that point yet. We all know the situation that the state's in, so it may be a while before they get there. But those are conversations that are going to ultimately have to be had with that building.
Liz, let me switch gears. I know you haven't and can't, and DDA has not taken a position on the Cross Bayou project. But let's pretend Robert's not in the room, because I think he's
Bye, Robert.
I think he's kind of a moron on this front. I don't think he gets the riverfront value that Cross Bayou has. There's something to be said for a development on the water, correct?
Oh, absolutely, Erin. You hit the nail on the head. I'm not going to call Robert a moron.
Oh, I will. Okay.
Robert, I'm not calling you that.
I'm not here.
Look, I want to tell you that we may have the only urban waterfront in the country in a city our size that's undeveloped.
Mm-hmm.
So Cross Bayou, and certainly the Red River, brings incredible value to Shreveport, not only to downtown Shreveport, but to Shreveport and our area in a larger capacity. So this is a valuable commodity. It's valuable property. It has the potential for being beautiful property, for giving people access to the waterfront, which we really don't have now with the Red River, which we could have with Cross Bayou. We all know how much people love waterfront property. We know how much people love waterfront green space. So, yeah, it's so valuable, and I could see incredible things happening there. I think we all could, and that's why this conversation, has been ongoing now for the past, year and a half, couple of years. We've been talking really hard and seriously about Cross Bayou development.
My idea of French Quarter North for that, is that outlandish?
French Quarter in that you want a whole bunch of bars and vomit and stuff like that. Let me just make sure
No.
Now you're talking about her living room.
Hey.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking about Bourbon Street. You're talking about French Quarter in the smaller scale buildings, the cool living spaces, the small shops.
Yeah, the Cafe du Monde, the voodoo shops, things like that. That would be so
That's
cool.
Right, because we don't have enough voodoo shops, and I'm sure when you're pitching downtown Shreveport today to whomever it will be, the people with pentangles on their walls are your number one priority.
Couldn't
Robert,
that work?
you're onto something. You know what? I always promote the psychic corner downtown because, they're just things that you need to know, and you go there and you know them.
Right.
So, but, Erin, I think that we don't particularly want to replicate the French Quarter because we're not the French Quarter. We have our own personality. But we've got an incredible personality up here in Shreveport, in Northwest Louisiana that we could play on, that we could create something that is unique to us. We have incredible food that's not quite like the food in South Louisiana. We have architecture here that is remarkable. I mean, we could do something that would be smaller scale, that wouldn't block your view of the water, that would give you ample green space. I mean, we've done how many studies over the years? Mm-hmm. Let's recycle some of those studies, pull them out, see their best practices, put it all together, and, I'm sure there are all sorts of wonderful things. But again, I go back to the whole private dollars thing. Private dollars have every right to look where private dollars want to look. As long as the thing that they're doing is legal under zoning laws and is legal under fire code and building code and all of that, they have every right to do what they wish. Our job is to try to convince them to do something in downtown or to make sure that everything that's being developed has some sort of cohesion with what already exists.